Welcome to the centre court, and Novak Djokovic in his second match of Wimbledon 2008. Looking in terrific form towards the end of his match against Mikhail Barrera, and up against him Marat Safin of Russia, who's been a great in the world of tennis. 2 Grand Slams to his credit. His ranking though has dropped for the last 3 years, and maybe it's a crossroads point for him. Marat Safin, who's earned $13 million in his career, but from all accounts still very hungry for tennis success. It's a fine day. We had a prospect of shower in the last hour, but I think we may have eluded it. So all set fair, hopefully for a full day. Nicky Pilic on the left there, where Djokovic was from the age of 12 to 14, and then Djokovic's mother and father and young brother there, Georgie. Mum and dad.
Please do me a favor, remain seats until I call time. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Pascal Maria of France in charge.
Heads. Takes. Receive. Thank you very much.
Good to see the Royal Box very nearly full, taking account of what should be a terrific match. Simon Reed alongside John McEnroe to take you through this. What do you expect from it, John?
I may be hoping more than I'm expecting, but I've seen Marat play an awful lot of great matches, not a lot of great ones here. He's historically been rather miserable playing here, although I think the change in the grass should help him. A truer bounce. He's bitterly complained in the past about not getting the type of bounce he needs because of. I've watched a lot of tennis players over the years, Simon, but there's not a lot of guys as tall as Marat Safin is, about 6'4", to strike the ball as beautifully as him, particularly that backhand. Love his backhand, the two-handers up the line, and then move as well as a guy like him at that height. He's very underrated. The players know it, and that's why he's been able to go to Grand Slam finals on 5 occasions. He's been in lost 2 Wimbledon, 2 Australian Open finals. He won that miraculous final when he saved the match point against Federer, and then he had that incredible win over when he beat Pete Sampras. So he showed the best in the world that he can get it done. Step up to their level. Now, unfortunately for him, that knee problem, cropped up, injuries, and he wasn't even able to defend his title in Australia. And it's been a long and difficult road. There's been a combination, and this is, a bit of guesswork. I've seen him around the locker room. You try to talk to him. It's hard to really know what the truth is. Is it did he get satisfied with winning the 2 slams? Did he think that was enough? Were the injuries really? Was that what caused him not to be able to train hard enough to maintain that top 10 ranking? Because when you look at this guy, you think he should at least be in the top 10 in the world. Probably a combination of losing some of that determination, that desire, age. He's slowed down just that little bit, Simon, just enough that guys like Djokovic, who he blew off the court the one time they played, and there's a hunger you see when you see this other guy Djokovic that you don't see with Safin anymore. There's a belief that you see in him as we look at his young career, only at 21, coming off a win in Australia. And, in a way, I look at these two as rather similar type of players, and the mentality that Safin had early on in his career, where he was just full of confidence and bravado, is what you see with Djokovic now. The difference that I see, at least so far, is that Djokovic has got a full team with him and a total and utter commitment to trying to get himself in spectacular shape. And not only is he there, I believe, he's also working to maintain a very high level of flexibility. You know, and that flexibility, because I've seen him in the locker room, the flexibility is incredible. And that allows him, I believe, to get that incredible work on his serve.
Now the stats with Safin, the history a lot better than the present. Confirmation of what John was saying. Winner of the Australian Open in 2005, but that was the year the injury hit. And then an amazing performance when he cleaned up Pete Sampras in the US Open in 2000.
He's been to 1/4 here. That's his best result at Wimbledon, and he's been all the way to the top. He's still got a big serve. I mean, he still moves better than most players. It's just not as good as he did before in his prime. Now, certainly, with a guy like this, you got to believe that one of the reasons he's out there, Simon, in addition to maybe not knowing what else he's going to do, which is a problem with almost all of us tennis players and athletes, he's got to believe he's got another match in him that he can go after and beat a guy like Djokovic. You know, make a run in a big tournament. Otherwise, I really don't think he would be playing. I mean, in his heart of hearts, I'd like to believe that he's somehow just sort of going through this, just winning. You know, he's like a 500 player now. That's not Marat Safin. He's better than that. I'd like to see that at the very least put up a real serious run here and make this a match. And as a matter of fact, I've always been rather fond of him because he wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's a really funny guy when you see him off the court. He's got that wry sense of humor. He's got the looks, obviously. He'd be a guy that would really be good for our sport to be around, you know, sort of the old wily veteran, to have him around a little longer. Absolutely.
We saw Safin through against Fabio Fognini in straight sets, and Djokovic dropped a set against Michael Barrère, but in the end won very convincingly indeed. He looked a special player by the end of that.
Well, he was lost, and he lost it for about 15-20 minutes. But Barrère had some game, you know, and threw some wrinkles at him. And I just don't think he dug down, nor did he feel like he needed to. But when he did, he stepped up and bombed him off the court. He's got that same type of bravado that Safin had again and when he was at his best. He's just the man. You know, he believes he's going to be the #1 player in the world. Safin perhaps was, you know, fell into it a little sooner than he'd expect.
Confirmation of their first meeting. Djokovic was just 17 years of age there. Is that, as far as he's concerned, another life?
Well, it is another life, but at the same time, I bet he's been waiting for this moment for about at least a couple years since he's turned it around and become at the top of the game. I can assure you that he's thinking, I want to get a chance to play Safin. And this is actually a great place to play him because Safin's best surface is hard court. It's okay. It's Djokovic's best surface. They're both, you know, clays, maybe not their best. This one, they're not quite sure yet. It'll be interesting.
Well, he wouldn't say it's exactly full, but it's about 2/3 full, and it deserves an absolutely packed house.
First set, Novak Djokovic.
And it'll be the #3 seed to begin this.
Ready? Play.
Go!
Law 15. Late. First service.
Oh! Go!
Love 13.
It's a double. Started edgily in his match at Roland Garros in the first round against Dennis Gremmelmeyer. Didn't look too nervous in his first round match here, but maybe this is a step up in opponent, that's for sure.
Very, very tough conditions, that match against Gremmelmeyer. We've talked about wind today. So far, I just took a look outside. Not bad, but you can see it's going to kick up out there. This is not what he had in mind. A brutal first game here.
Love 14.
2 doubles. Just a total miss hit to love 40. So this would be a good boost. I know it's first game, but this would be a big boost for Safin to get the early break.
$15-40. Let. First service.
Far away. Little slip, but he recovered well.
30-40.
So break point number 3.
Djokovic has shown in the last 6 months more willingness to move forward. His volleying, as well as Nadal's, has improved. That helped him win that slam in January. And that serve is just incredible. It really has a lot of variety.
Yes.
His core is so strong. His flexibility, his back, he can torque it. He can hit that kick, the top spin, slice it out. He can pound it. I think his serve is better than Federer's or Nadal's.
Yeah.
And both those guys. I mean, I think Federer serves better than he ever has. And Nadal has really improved the serve. Just to give you an idea how good his guy's serve is.
Game, Djokovic.
And there's confirmation. 3 breakpoint save. Djokovic out in front.
First game.
When you start like that with 2 doubles, second one was a big double. Must be a few tremors go through you, however well you're doing in the world of tennis.
Well, I mean, obviously, when you come out on the center court, I don't care how many times you've done it and how many times you look forward to doing it and how many times you succeeded once you've done it. You go out in the first game, you know, it's first match, won. You can butterflies are going to be there.
Safin.
I'm not sure where the sun is. You know, we have this little awning. I'm wondering if it was a factor on that side to see it. But he's certainly right. The main thing is he won 5 straight points.
15 off.
And how highly do you rate Safin's serve?
Safin's serve is well above average. You know, he's predictable on his second serve. He likes to just kick that serve. We call American twist. It's got a lot of zip on the first serve, but he's not as comfortable at net.
Mr. Safin challenging the call on the left service line. The ball was called out.
So he's a challenging character, and straight away he's challenging the system.
That ball didn't really look close to being in. I think he's a little bit annoyed that he lost that last game. He's got to work his way through that because he had a great chance.
15 on. Mr. Safin has 2 challenges remaining.
I often wonder why they have to make that announcement. You know, the big scoreboard there. I mean, How many people care? Let's start with that.
If we start with 3, most of us, even we English, we're pretty good at counting down.
When 3 minus 1, my third grader can whip that off.
All.
Yep.
Well, that is beautiful. I talked in the opening about how well he can move. I mean, that saved him in that point. I mean, he was out of the point. I'm surprised Djokovic didn't move in on that ball where he was scrambling and had to slice the forehand. That was where he could have hurt Murat, but he allowed him back in. He hesitated. Still very well done.
Some return.
Yes.
Well, you know he's going to use that twist and kick it. It's just a question of where the ball's going to go, and he gives that away just a touch. That's why I think Djokovic can move in and take it early.
Advantage Safin.
It's a big one. 134.
Yes.
Just a few errors on the forehand.
But the forehand is not as good as the backhand. First, and he's not found the range yet. The ball's moving through the court. He's off right now.
Advantage Safin.
This shot here, this two-handed backhand, is what's helped him win 2 slams. I mean, I've seen him just magnificent. How hard he can hit it, how much control he has.
Game Safin. One game more.
You know what I miss a little bit? I mean, here's a perfect example, Simon. You've been covering tennis a long time. These guys, these are big, strong guys, but you don't see that as clearly on a TV set, or to some degree even where we are. They got these loose shirts and long pants, you know, down to their knees. Look at these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to get them. I don't know. Just tuck in the shirt. Shorter shorts. I know it's never going to happen, but you'd see how muscular, how strong, how fit these guys are.
Yeah, Rafa likes to let you know he's strong.
Novak likes to take his shirt off, you know, after the match. Maybe we could get him to do it before it ends.
Wouldn't do the ratings any harm.
Exactly. He could put the Adidas, you know, sort of a tattoo it onto his stomach or something.
If they're listening, you could be onto something.
15-0. $15-30.
So again, he's playing catch up on his serve.
Well, all of a sudden, he's a contender. You know, he's one of the 3 guys. Okay, admittedly, Nadal, Federer are the 2 favorites, but this is the next guy, so he's feeling some pressure.
Oh, pity. Some rally there.
Well, they're going to go toe-to-toe, and you can see that. They're not holding back. Here's that flexibility I was talking about there. You see that? He can slide into that shot and put just enough on it. That's because he's got a lot of ability to, he can almost do the splits. I mean, it's a big advantage to know that you're not going to hurt yourself when you make that move.
Sometimes I can't believe that he doesn't hurt himself when he stretches out wide.
I'll tell you, that's why that hard work that pays off.
Yeah.
40-30.
Super work from Safin.
Now the risk you run if you're sliding like that is you're going to be off balance. You know, it's hard to predict how far you're going to slide on this. You know, he started that slide as he was hitting it. I mean, that's a bit tricky. He actually talks about how much he enjoys sliding on hard courts, which now that seems risky. If he had found the range on his forehand, he would have been up a break already.
Advantage, Djokovic.
Yeah, Djokovic is not finding it easy here. Hopefully he never thought it was going to be easy.
Game, Djokovic.
Familiar Safin gesture as Djokovic moves in front.
Djokovic leads 2-1 first set.
Well, the problem for Safin is that he doesn't have a lot of confidence. I mean, look at his record. The guy's lost more matches than he's won this year, which is unbelievable for a guy like Safin. So when you blow opportunities against a guy who's as confident, as good as Djokovic, you're asking for trouble. It's clear that he hasn't found his range on the forehand, because the ball is, you know, everyone's talked about how slow the court has become, and certainly it has slowed down, but it still moves through the court, and that is certainly taken place in these first couple of games. You have to see that. Safin knows that, so he's catching the ball a little late. So he hasn't figured out the timing quite yet. He's going to need to do that soon if he's going to make this competitive and, you know, pull off a possible upset. Otherwise, Djokovic is going to start finding his range. He'll find it sooner. You know, he's more match tough. He's more confident. He's playing better right now. So all those things are in his favor.
Take your seat quickly, please. Thank you. Left. Enough. Love.
Consistently good serving from Safin.
40 love. Again, Safin.
No, he's a better player than that, but a very strong game from Safin. He's certainly not looking second best here.
If he can serve, get that type of percentage, you know, where it's cooking right now. You know, it's working. He's going to win a lot of free points that way. It's a huge difference between trying to return a first and second serve. You're talking he's in the mid to high 120s. You know, his second serve is going to come in at 100 miles an hour. So good start serving. He needs to keep that up.
Love 15.
Djokovic goes for more on his second serve, and he also places the ball better. You could argue that it's more risky, but if you're going to win slams, especially here, I mean, look at the guys that have done it consistently. Sampras, Becker, Federer. You know, they've dug deep with especially the second serve.
(30-15).
Still Safin not really catching that forehand right. Yeah, just a little slip from Djokovic.
Mark Philippoussis, who got to the finals here once, you know, unfortunately, he's had, I think now 3 surgeries on that left knee, the similar knee to Safin. Got to the stage where he couldn't, when he hit a running forehand, he'd still hit off the back foot. And looking at Safin, who had the left knee surgery, I wonder if that's still in his head a little bit, because he has the same tendency to, you know, hit off the right leg, and so sometimes, you know, that's throws you a bit off balance if you don't have a lot of time. That was a surprise move, but effective.
Such a big man, and when he plays shots like that, it really does look impressive.
30-40.
And he's got the chance here.
Yeah, you would have thought that he would have just ripped that cross court, because that's a shot that he hits well, either side, to be honest. But he chose to hit a feathery drop shot that worked. And again, he's got a chance to break. He's got to get one of these. Had love 40 the first game. Now it's a chance to get ahead here.
Would you believe it? A fourth double. Safin gets the break. He leads 3-2.
Safin leads 3-2. First set.
Well, look at how hard he hit that serve, Simon. That was 117 second serve. And when it goes in, you're like, hey, that's gutsy, brilliant. But when you throw a double in to give away a break, then you got to think, okay, he's still feeling some nerves and not maybe thinking totally clear. That was a higher risk. Now, it was over the low part of the net, I will say that. And most of the time, he would make that serve, except for the fact that he's just come out here. It's clear he's not in full gear yet. He's not playing up to what he's played. There's Marian Vita, his coach. You got to respect guys like Vita, who, you know, have kids away from their wife and 2 kids, you know, 40 weeks a year. You know, he doesn't get to go home on off weeks. He's got to go home and go where Novak wants to go. And so that's he's done an excellent job. You know, because people have talked about, well, he had Mark Woodford help him with the volley last year at Key Biscayne, and he's asked me, you know, what do you think about this or that? And he's a smart kid. So he engages people, brings people in. But the guy that's doing the tough work and deserves to be rewarded, hopefully, monetarily, as well as his respect, is Marian Vita, who's been with him through this run, you know, where he's right there at the doorstep. But he's off to a slow start. He can't be too happy with his form so far at Wimbledon. It's not, you know, not full gear yet.
Another one at 130.
Well, what you like about Safin, sir, it doesn't look like he's crushing it. You know, it's just a nice, natural, easy motion. You look up and you say, yeah, that was hard.
$15 all.
That's usually his bread and butter. That
15,
two-hander up the line. He's missed it 2 points in a row. He's not going to be too thrilled with that. Remember, the people watching and the players notice the net's 6 inches higher at the sideline. So if you're going to hit a flat ball, you better be precise, because you're going to have to hit it just right. Well, you'd like to see the players give it a little bit of topspin to bring it down in the court. Oh! The wind kicking up at a tricky moment for Safin. It was really howling there. Just came out of nowhere.
Nope, just missed it. And the wind playing its part in that rally. Second, just a fraction slow.
Djokovic covers the court a little bit better. He can scramble out there. That ball right there, he just sliced it, and the ball, you can see it moving. The wind really created havoc on that shot. Now he's got a chance, Djokovic, to break right back.
Djokovic.
It's going to be challenged.
The call on left far side, the ball was going in.
He seems convinced it was out.
129 out wide. Yep.
Second serve.
Right enough. Second serve, break point. Yep.
Again,
Safin not doing a lot in that
game. You wouldn't know who won the point by what you just saw there. Djokovic screaming himself. Basically, the wake-up call has come. Safin played a couple loose points on what normally is a shot he can bank on, that backhand. And the wind kicked up at a tricky moment. That caused one miss. And, you know, Djokovic has got a better forehand, so he doesn't want to trade forehands with him. He still hasn't found the range on that forehand quite yet, but he is at 3-all.
Low 15.
He's not comfortable.
Well, you don't get the feeling neither one have totally gotten there yet. And if they do at the same time, we're going to really enjoy this. It's a wicked hot. You could see it. It didn't hit the line. It just sat up. And he expected it to go through the court. It's just tough to time that. It's excellent return with good depth. See that ball? It took just a wicked bounce. Bad luck for him.
Let. First service.
That is a huge, huge shot.
Listen to the crowd.
That's a smart shot for him to hit.
Low 40.
Because he's having some trouble with his forehand. So what he's doing here is intelligent, because he's hitting over the low part, giving himself some safety margin.
3 break points for Marat Safin.
Wow.
Again, Safin.
The great entertainer in spectacular form at the moment.
New balls, please.
That was a lift.
Safin needs.
Well, just think of the last 3 games. I mean, you had a situation where Safin should have broken the first time he served. He didn't. And it looked like maybe Djokovic was getting his act together. So Safin breaks. But then he can't get it done. And he gets broken right back. Then you say, okay, here we go again. This guy's got too much confidence. He's won too many matches. He wants payback for that thrashing that Marat gave him back in 2005 Australian. But lo and behold, Safin really took it up to another gear. And broken lug there. So he'll come out with some new balls, Simons. You know, so it's always an interesting time, because the balls, these guys are cracking the ball. You know, one of the reasons why the court is slower is because they hit it so hard, the ball takes a beating. So the felt gets, thicker. It gets a little bit more. The ball doesn't get it. It actually grows. You know, the hair. It's like you put your finger in a socket and your hair goes up. Imagine these balls getting crushed by these big guys. So it gets tougher to hit some pace on it. So when you get new ones, you know, the first, it could be great. You know, you could just bomb some serves, but you don't quite have the same feel for a few points or a game or so. So it probably best served to play it a little bit safer. Let's see how they play it out here, these two at 4-3. It's certainly going to fly out there for a bit.
Enough.
You can feel he's really having to think here, Djokovic.
Let for service.
Good matchup for Safin as compared to, say, a Federer, who's, you know, when they played here, you know, brought him into net, you know, knifed that short return. Djokovic doesn't have that in his bag of tricks. He's playing someone who's a similar type of player, who can go toe to toe with him. Nadal with that lefty spin would create problems for Safin because it would be going away from him on the backhand. You know, Djokovic's game is, you know, he's a bit of a mirror image.
So he's more balanced most of the time.
I think he walked out on his court believing he had a better chance for an upset than against those other two I mentioned. He played Davydenko at the French. Now, he would have obviously much preferred to play him here. But on clay, that didn't bode well for his mind, his confidence, his belief. But here, I think he came out with the real belief he could pull off an upset.
It's a super second serve.
Safin needs 5 games to 3.
One of the problems, John, for Djokovic, looking at the stats, he's won just 10% of points behind his second serve.
He's not serving as well as he'd like. You know, I talked earlier about how good his serve was. You know, he's let me down, but more importantly, he's let himself down so far, and that's why he's about to lose this set. He's not quite hitting it as well as I've seen. But you got to credit Safin. I mean, he's come to play, and he's returned well. He's hit a lot of good shots this first set.
Kink in the net.
I think that's that little device that you picks up the lets that popped up just a little bit there.
Look up at Pascal Mary, who confirmed the ball was out. You can hear the wind getting up again.
Djokovic has got to be willing to move forward, though. That move alone helped him win that point. How good is that?
Yeah. Out of nowhere.
Agassi perfected that, you know, where it's basically, it looks like a volley, except you're at the baseline. I mean, to generate that type of pace from there, a defensive position, I mean, that just was unheard of 10 years ago, 15.
Well, was it an iffy bounce?
40-30.
Certainly he's looking down as if it was. It was an important bounce.
It's so important for a couple of reasons. One is it could be that bounce, a bad one. Guys look at the lines, you know, take a quick look. Their eye goes off the ball, hoping it will go out. So there's a lot of reasons why you want to hit with depth.
That was a glimmer of hope. Djokovic. But Djokovic holds and forces Safin to serve out for this first set.
Safin needs 5 games to 4 first set.
It's actually been quite an entertaining first set. You've seen 3 service breaks. You've seen 2 players that have a lot of credentials. You've seen a guy who's seemingly on the downside that I would think has to want to is still playing so he can get to a moment like this and pull off the upset. And you got another player who's, you know, the shoulders are a little heavier now because he's won a Grand Slam and people are talking about him, you know, possibly becoming the #1 player in the world this year. And so you got quite an intriguing second-round matchup. And these guys are powerful young men and hit the ball a ton.
Well, he may be on the slide, although whisper it quietly, but he looks a terrific physical specimen, Safin. He looks as fit as ever.
You know, I was looking, I'll maybe get to this if I can now, but in 2004 Australia, I was down there. He had a run where he beat Agassi in 5 sets, Roddick in 5 sets, Blake in 4, and Martin in 5 consecutively to get to the final. It was a magnificent physical effort. I mean, the guy is a tremendous specimen.
Serving for the first set, then after 35 minutes.
Whoa, boy. That's not a good sign.
I think he was listening to you.
That's like the wrong highlight reel there. That's why guys and girls will always want 2 serves. You can forget about the first one and still win the point. I'm going to go with the sun was in the eyes.
Okay.
And little bit of nerves trying to serve this out.
Love 30.
Now then. Well, he did slip, of course, but he was up in plenty of time. But it obviously took him out of his rhythm.
Well, that's why he looks like he is right there. I mean, he cannot believe that he hit that so badly. Considering he was down and out, plenty of time. That was love 30. Safin had missed all 3 first serves, made 2 unforced errors. So Djokovic was very upset with himself that he didn't make him play a volley there and just let him off the hook. Now he gets a first serve. You know, he's still thinking about that last point. Now it's 30 all. Hardest serve of the day. Oh, not the second hardest. 133 there.
Good enough. Bold move forward, and he's deserved his chance here, has Safin.
40-30.
Set point against the number 3 seed. Good maneuvering around from Djokovic.
Yes.
When Safin sliced that forehand, he thought it was going in. The wind just took it at least 7 feet wide. So, got to make adjustment out there.
An apology. Some time for it. Not luck.
Well, you know, he's due for some luck. He's got Djokovic off the court here, so clearly he's going to try to take this ball up the line. Miss-hit, but it was just perfectly placed. That's one of the ones you're not at all sorry, but you'll say you're sorry because he's got a set point again.
He's got it. The first set goes to Safin.
Safin by 6 games to 4.
Goosebumps now.
Well, I've been waiting quite a while and had a lot of talks, I'm sure, like many other people have, with this guy. You know, a way to find the motivation and to get him to find out, number one, if he's healthy enough, and number two, if he's got the motivation and desire to get fit enough. Because you talked about the guy's a physical specimen. He's an incredible player. I mean, he's won 2 slams, been in the finals of 2 others, and he's been at the top of the game. And what is his? I'm going to look. It's unbelievable. But if you look at his last couple years,
it's just been a slide.
It's not the right direction. He finished last year at 48 in the world, 25 in 2006, 12 in 2005.
Now he's at 75.
Hopefully due for a good match. So.
Time.
Well, it's absolutely packed out, and good to see it 10-2. Normally, if you come around this time, you see a lot of empty seats because people are still having lunch or a drink or whatever. But they wanted to see the start of this, and they've been richly rewarded. Novak Djokovic in a bit of a pickle here. Started a little subdued, and Marat Safin has taken the first set 6-4, deservedly, John.
Very much deservedly. There's been 3 breaks here. People that have gotten a chance to see on the interactive been rewarded. Well, there's some huge hitting, and Safin's gotten it done so far. Seems the one who's got his game going. And it's nice to see, overdue perhaps, but certainly nice to see him playing this well.
Love 15.
Surprisingly, that is double fault number 5. Djokovic almost lost serve the first game down love 40. He double faulted away a break at 2-all. He got it back. And surprisingly, he was broken at love. And Safin able to pull this set out. And Djokovic is a little confused right now how to approach this. He's playing a guy who matches up well against him. Plays a similar type game. He doesn't have the variety of a Roger Federer, as many moves. And so he's not quite sure what he should be doing yet, and his serve is a little off, so he's not winning as many free points as he'd like. That's frustrating him. That's what he needs. Get a couple of easy points in games. Get some pressure on the big Russian. Safin moving well out there so far.
Marian Vida, Djokovic's coach. Djokovic lost his way a little bit against Mikael Barrère in the first round, dropped the second set, lost a string of games in a row against a giant German. Now he's up against another giant man, but also a giant personality, and I wonder if that might be a bit of a factor.
Well, there's certainly respect, and Safin destroyed him the one time they played, although that was long ago. First slam that Novak ever played was in Australia 2005. He only got 3 games. You know, that's he's been thinking about that a long time, a chance to repay Safin.
Game, Djokovic.
Djokovic will be thankful for a relatively easy service game.
First game,
mum and dad to the right.
You mentioned Djokovic being subdued, which is true. And so perhaps that's part of why he's not in full gear. You don't see as much bouncing of the ball in his serve. A lot of complaints about that, talk about that. whether he be called for delay of game. So it's so far that maybe that's thrown him. Safin's been under control, though that game showed signs of frustration, which is a bit worrisome. You know, that was a good chance for him, and I think he knows he blew it. Oh!
Double-hander again from Safin, setting the point up, as it's done so often in his career.
Well, you look there, he hit a ball that Djokovic was on the run. That ball looked like he was going to move in. He sliced it for it and scooted backwards. A bit lucky to win that point.
30 love.
Djokovic hasn't got a prayer on the Safin first serve. 85% of first serve points won for the Russian so far. And that's going on the upward move.
Did you think you'd ever see the day where you'd have a guy 6'4", a guy 6'2", with huge serves that would see you hit a half volley and move back? And if you look at the serve and volley stats, neither one is served and volley in either first or second serve.
No.
That
one measly time. It's just once. They're hitting one in excess of 130.
Just go with what you know, I guess.
I'll tell you one thing. It's a testament to the ground school and the grass that they can get it done by playing that way. Roger Federer, who's won 5 years in a row, I look at him and he comes in on maybe 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 first serves, rarely if at all in the second. And Leighton Hewitt, the last guy to win here besides Roger, he obviously serves and stays back almost all the time.
Let. First service. Love 15.
One thing that you can definitely say so far is Safin's return to serve for the most part has been excellent. He's put some pressure on Djokovic.
Well, he was going to make that. He's been making most of the points on Djokovic's second serve. He's just moved up to 31% with that point, but it's been hovering precariously low.
(30-15).
Bit of a chance here for Safin to extend the momentum that he's got, but he's not taking it. John giving that one a hard look.
What Djokovic came out saying, okay, look, I'm the man now. You know, 2005, that was long ago. I'm just going to play my game and I'm going to get it done. And it's not happening so far. Safin is playing pretty much the same way, but doing a little bit better job. And you're starting to see Djokovic try to mix things up. You know, that ball attempted an angle. He's trying to start to move forward a little bit, change gears here, just subtly.
Let. Second service.
Excellent point.
Longest rally of the match. Safin staying with him toe to toe.
That's exactly what I was just saying. I mean, that he's perfect timing.
30-40.
Because they're just trading shots there, and Safin seems more comfortable right now. This, you know, he could really get some serious momentum if he can get the break now, already up a set.
Late. First service.
He's thinking about
Yes.
challenge. You shouldn't be able to look up your camp and ask them what they think before doing that. I mean, that should be a given. But players do that. It seems to be allowed. It looked pretty clearly long from we're on the other end.
Yeah.
But that just is to be a no-no.
Late. First service.
Another miss. They're getting to be ahead.
Well, it's the pace of the return. You got to respect that. But so what you got to do is you got to assume that you're a little tight out there. Play it a little safer. You don't want to miss a shot like that. Give Safin another break point.
13th unforced error for Djokovic.
Mr. Safin challenging the corner on the right far side. The ball was gone out.
Did look wide.
Yeah, I don't think he believes that he's going to win this, but he figures it's worth a shot. Gives him a little extra time
Yes,
here to
Mr.
prepare a
Safin has
deuce.
2 challenges remaining.
Fine serving from Djokovic.
Advantage Djokovic. Game, Djokovic.
Out of the mire. Impressively in the end, Djokovic goes to 2-1.
Djokovic leads 2-1, second set, first set, Safin.
So, Djokovic doing okay there, but he is having problems on serve. Safin's returns really bothering him. Here to tell us why is Jason Goodall.
Thanks very much, Simon. Just taking a close look at the quality of Safin's return of serve. This graphic illustrates where those returns have bounced. The yellow balls are the returns of the first serve, the black balls returns of the second serve, and 81% of them have bounced deeper than the service line, which is really good considering the breezy conditions today. And of course he can return well off both wings. Here's a good example off the forehand. This particular return bounces within 2 or 3 feet of the baseline and he rushes Djokovic into error. That's an uncomfortable position for the server to be in. But remember, the key game of the opening set was the 7th. This is break point in that game. Look at the quality of the backhand return here. Hard and deep, putting Djokovic under extreme pressure. And eventually Safin wins the point with considerable aplomb. If he can continue to return this well, he's got every chance of causing a major upset here.
I said earlier, Simon, that I felt Djokovic's serve was better than Federer or Nadal's at this stage. And he has not yet shown that. He's been a little shaky for his standards. I believe his flexibility and core strength and variety on serve has just improved dramatically.
Love 15.
That's saying something, because I think Federer, as I said earlier, is serving better than he ever has, as Nadal, as well as Nadal, who's getting more pace and using his serve as a weapon, and the spin, the lefty spins.
Safin follows his first double with his 6th ace.
You don't normally see a Djokovic match where at the moment 1 ace, 5 doubles. Part of why he's lost serve twice and was even in trouble that previous game.
$15.30.
Just rather snatched at that. Normally such a sound shot for him.
Not an easy ball to hit a winner from that position. That was a high risk shot.
Up. 30 all.
Their percentages are similar, the two of them, around 60. But it seems to me like Safin is imposing his serve, his will more, and had more success so far in this match.
Imposing himself on Djokovic.
Well, he's so strong,
40,
too. I mean, he's muscled that ball here. Djokovic decides to hit a backhand. Well, that opens up the court for Safin. You know, he's moving in there, so that was a very smart play. I'm not quite sure why Djokovic decided to move to his right and hit that backhand.
Game, Safin.
It's interesting little slow-mo we saw just before there. Djokovic moving his neck around, trying to relax.
2 games all, second set.
Being able to free himself up to play his game.
He lost it here in the first round. There was about a 20-minute, 30-minute period where you were like, who is this guy? This is an imposter. No. After losing the second set, he stepped it up in a big way. You got to give him credit for that. And this is best of 5. A long way to go, obviously.
And he found that on switch against Barrera instantly, did he? But didn't he? But it's a different thing against a guy like Safin to find that on switch.
Well, obviously, this guy's won 2 slams. He's been in 2 finals, 2 other finals, among other things.
Late. First service.
And part of Davis Cup teams that have won it all. Amazingly, a losing record coming into this tournament.
Late.
For the year. I mean, a mere 10 and 13 coming into Wimbledon. He had 1 for the first round. That can't be the best that Murat has to offer.
And for those who weren't following Safin around here, they may have thought, well, you know, he's a big-time Charlie, is Safin. When he gets to the Grand Slams, he'll really turn it on. But he was trying to turn it on, and all those matches really busting a gut. It just wasn't happening for him. It must have been increasingly frustrating through the year. Especially as his sister got to the final at Roland Garros.
Well,
he's going to be known as her
well, I
younger
don't know
brother.
about that, but yeah, I was actually disappointed he wasn't there to see Dinara play. I know that he played in Queens, right, Simon?
Yes, he did.
But
I'm surprised.
and I'm sure, you know, just from I don't know. I like Murat a lot, and to see his sister finally make that big breakthrough, I'm sure it would have meant a lot to her. But
Game, Djokovic.
So Djokovic holds a more impressive service game from him, and he leads 3 games to 2.
Djokovic leads 3 games to 2, second set, first set, Safin.
So trying to calm down. You can see deep breaths. So a run of 3 successive breaks of serve midway through the first set. And you can hear the buzz. People happy they made the decision to come early here because they're being richly rewarded. Safin is such an identifiable character. There are a few players with charisma these days. This guy has it in bucket loads.
Which is why there's so many people, including myself, pulling for him to get himself back where he belongs in the top 10, quite honestly, as a contender. And how frustrating it must be to see him hovering in the 70, whatever it is, 70, 75 in the world, winning or as many matches as he loses, wondering where the motivation is or coming from, the commitment. But it seems to be going quite well so far. All that misery may pay off if he can keep this up.
Because one major run at a major tournament will put everything right, won't it? Ranking, don't worry about the ranking. If he gets the semi-final here,
they worry about the ranking. I mean, you want to see where you stand at the end of a year, but obviously that would ease most, if not all, of the pain if he could make a long run into a major.
Boom!
That's not going to get it done against Safin, just pushing the ball.
Again, the net caught, but there was plenty of time. He didn't do much at all.
Well, this is why it leads me to believe that he's not yet totally there, because he just pushed that ball. I mean, it was 9 out of 10 at least. Safin's going to hit a winner on that, especially off that side.
He looks shackled, Djokovic. Shackled by the personality as much as the game of Marat Safin.
A bit by the expectations that he's put on himself. He's talked the talk. He started to walk the walk. He won Australia. People are talking about him in the press, other players, the people that follow the sport, that he could be the #1 player in the world this year. Nicely held there by Safin, who let the ball drop a little lower, forcing Djokovic to move.
15.
He could take this ball any number of places, but he saw Novak move to one side, let the ball drop, and a nice easy winner.
Oh, Marat.
40-30.
Very little reaction from him.
He doesn't like that shot as much as Andy Murray, who uses that quite often. Him and Santoro had a contest there last night. Certainly the way Safin hits that two-handed backhand, you'd like to see him rip through one there at 45.
Game, Safin.
One of the best returners in the world. He's not working well in that department, Djokovic.
New balls, please.
Yes,
3 games all.
To put Safin's year in context, he's only won back-to-back matches twice all year. That was in Munich on clay. Otherwise, it's frustration everywhere. Queens, he beat James Ward of Britain in the first round, then lost to Fernando Gonzalez in round number 2. Similar pattern wherever he's gone.
You often talk about matchups in one-on-one sports. Boxing, obviously, the counter-puncher versus the puncher. Used to be a serve volleyer versus a backcourt player, although pretty much all you see is that now. But in this case, you have two similar styles.
30 love.
Safin, a bigger, slightly stronger man, has been successful at imposing himself on Djokovic. Psyched him out a little bit so far.
40 love.
Djokovic, to me, is the better server, and when that starts happening consistently, I suspect the tide will start turning.
Good return.
40-15.
Djokovic wants to give Safin different looks, so that's a good move. I mean, he's up 40 love, so he's going to win this game anyway. He's got to be able and confident enough to come in.
Again, Djokovic.
7 games with serve in this second set.
Djokovic leads 4-3.
Who would have thought, Simon, that in the beginning of 2005, we alluded to this earlier, that an 18-year-old guy by the name of Novak Djokovic would play against Marat Safin in the first round. 6-love, 6-2, 6-1, Safin would win, absolutely destroying him. Went on to play one of the great matches, semifinals against Federer, where he saved a match point and went on to win that in a thrilling 5-set match, 9-7 in the 5th, following it up with a tough, hard-fought finals win against Leighton Hewitt. And to think that now, as we look at 2008, that Marat Safin couldn't defend his title the next year because of the left knee problem. That this unknown who had talked about moving to England, perhaps to get citizenship so he could get funding by the LTA.
That's what inspired him. Just the thought of coming here.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Yeah, absolutely.
Time.
And that this seemingly, you wouldn't have bet on it.
No.
You would have bet that Djokovic would make his way towards the top. What you wouldn't have bet on is the unfortunate set of circumstances, the knee giving out. And then the subsequent seeming lack of either motivation or ability to train to get himself fit enough to get himself back on the top, and just sort of being out there the last couple of years. So it's really good to see him playing this well and making Djokovic work so hard so far.
I don't know if Safin's only objective here was to win the match. Perhaps it was not to get his ass kicked. But whatever.
Well said.
He's got out of that particular.
That's not a bad word here. They keep coming after me. That sounded pretty intense.
It's just the way you say it, John.
Safin at the ripe old age of 28.
That's enough.
Andre Agassi, who you could have made an argument was seemingly out of the sport or lacked motivation and fitness, made a miraculous second life. 29, he won the French. He completed all 4. He won. I think he went on to win a couple more slams, including a few Australian Opens. So it certainly would be motivation for an elder statesman like Safin to think he could do it. But how imposing he is physically.
Let first service.
Looking up at the wind, which is gusting a bit at the moment.
Yeah, instead of looking at the win, he should look at the score. He's not doing too badly.
4 games all, second set.
You wonder if that's a positive or negative. It's interesting because some people like to hide what they're feeling. Borg obviously was one. It's tough to read what Federer is thinking often.
And you?
I was very difficult to tell. Safin's another one, but that doesn't necessarily give the guy the edge. I don't.
Oh!
especially if you hit a winner after you look up and complain about the win and then smack a winner.
It'll be interesting to watch Safin's body language if things start to go bad. They haven't yet.
Well, he just almost threw his racket. That's the shot that worries me with him, because I said to you earlier, I worked a little with Mark Philippoussis, and he had left knee surgery. As a matter of fact, I think it was 3 of them, and he would not push off on that leg. And subsequently hit all his forehands, even on the run, off his back foot. And so his balance was off, and he'd be stretching, and he wouldn't commit to that last step being on the left leg. And I've noticed that Murat has a bit of that same issue. Not to the extent.
Wouldn't or couldn't?
And with who, Mark? Or
yeah.
Both. I guess. He wouldn't, so I guess it made me believe he could. But I tried to get him to do it.
The ball was called in.
Let's see if Safin wins the challenge. He's been 0 for 2 so far. Make that 0 for 3. I look at Safin. Now, he's had one, as far as I know, one surgery on the knee. And it looks like he's moving pretty well still. I just wonder if it's a bit of a habit, a bad habit at this point.
40-15.
Djokovic starting to hold serve a little easier now.
Game, Djokovic.
So Safin will have to serve to stay in the set.
Djokovic leads 5-4. Second set, first set, Safin.
Now, in his defense, and a lot of players do hit off the back foot and are absolutely magnificent doing so. So the sport has changed. And his stance is such, even Novak's is one where they like to hit with more of an open stance. And it's a tougher read for the player to tell where they're hitting it, and they're willing to sort of wait and hit off the back foot because they're so much bigger and stronger, and they've got the rackets that have so much more power. So maybe I'm talking with a bit of a non-issue, but it's having watched Murat so often over the years, there's some concern there, and you have to be a little bit of concern if you were in the Djokovic camp right now, because he's been surprisingly subdued for him. You see Marian Vida up there. I mean, he's trying to. He's leaning forward. You see, he's so into it. He's trying to get Novak's attention. Like, come on, get into this. You're not into it enough, and a lot of that is due to the quality of the Safin play. But some of it seems to be due that he just doesn't feel quite right out there yet.
Off.
Super start from Safin.
30 love.
The crowd is filled up. It's a packed house now, and he's giving the crowd their money's worth. And we talked about it earlier. His willingness to go toe to toe, and it's. How this is a good matchup for him. There's not a lot Djokovic can do to hurt him other than serve better, which he started to do the last couple service games. But Murat has had his chances. Is right in here, about to be 6-4 for him, 5-all.
Game, Safin.
So love service game for Safin. But even in the great days, and there were so many great days for Safin, you always wondered whether the wheels would stay on track long enough. And I guess that's a bit of a poser right now. And Djokovic may be feeling that. Somewhere along the line, he's going to drop his form. Then I'm in.
I was at the Australian Open in 2004 where he beat Todd Martin 7-5 in the fifth. James Blake, tough 4-set match. 6-4 in the fifth, Roddick. 6-3 in the fifth, Agassi. You weren't questioning a whole lot in those days, Simon, if he could stay with it. He was the man out there. I mean, Roger Federer talked about this guy as one, if not the most talented guys that he played against. And he followed up the following year with the win, that magnificent win where he beat Roger in the semis.
But you know, John, there were other days where he beat himself.
True. True. I mean, which is why it's all the more disappointing that it just hasn't happened since. You know, now injuries are a large part. You just want to see him compete all the time.
You know,
at 6'4", he's a big guy, but he's one of the guys that's really benefited from the grass court change. Yeah. The ball's going to sit up more. He's going to get a better look at his ground strokes.
Yes, he was a founder member of the Grasses for Cows Club.
40 love.
And he wasn't delirious for a while about coming here.
There was a couple different years where it looked as if he'd be better off he didn't show up, and talked that he wouldn't.
Game, Djokovic.
But Djokovic easier and easier behind his serve right now.
Djokovic leads 6-5. Second set, first set, Safin.
So the serve is beginning to work now. We can have a close look at the talk you were talking about.
Well, I've talked about in glowing terms Djokovic's serve, and you know the reason why his serve is so good is threefold. One is his leg as he thrusts up into the court. Another key one is the core strength and the flexibility in his back that he uses to such great degree to keep opponent guessing. A tough read, he can kick it, he can also slice it, and he can also hit it hard. And a lot of that is the work that he does, Simon. A lot of the players out there should pay close attention to this, because that core area and the back allows him to sort of twist in a position that to me most mere mortals would seem uncomfortable, but yet it's become quite natural to him. And it's not a surprise. It's not a coincidence that his serve has gotten better, that he's been able to generate more power, and he's been able to place the serve better. Second serve placement is so key.
Safin serving to stay in the set for the second time.
And then the third part, obviously, is when you snap your wrist, the timing that takes after you've done the other two things. So it all works together. So, from head to toe, that you have to be all in rhythm. And Novak is really good at that now.
It was a sign of his flexibility as well.
This is such a key time for Safin to me. I mean, to me, it's far more important for him to win this set than it is for Djokovic. He'll start really believing if he gets up 2 sets of love, they can pull this off.
Again, the weight was back. Couple of howlers from Safin, and suddenly things are serious. Djokovic 2 points from the set.
The first one you could say, okay, it was 30 love, bit careless, but that one is definitely going to make him think twice as he steps up to the line here. That's exactly what he wanted, not to have to hit a shot. Good serve.
40-30. Again, Safin.
So Safin takes us into a breaker, and their breaker record this year, interesting, John, a mirror image. Djokovic 1-11, lost 5. Safin 1-5, lost 11.
Both players receive one additional challenge.
Well, when you're playing with more confidence and winning more matches and tournaments, you look at those records of those guys, and almost all the time they're well above 500. And the guys that have mediocre records, there's also a reason for that. Let's see if can change that, Safin now.
1-0 Djokovic.
He's got to dig a little deeper in the reserve here, Safin. When he won a lot of those big matches to pull himself through here. He's playing well.
Grind it up.
1-0.
But Safin, look at the other side of the net as someone who's got a concerned look, who's not playing as well as he can. And that's got to give him a lot of hope.
Super from Safin. Just great. A little bit of guile there.
Exactly. You know, it was interesting. Both players pulled back and played a little safer, looking for some depth. That little angle was just a sweet time to pull that off.
Look at Safin there.
His court coverage has been excellent in this match. He's tracked down some tough Djokovic ground strokes. This is really a great opportunity for him. Look at that return.
How wide was that?
For sure, Djokovic thought he had that point.
4-1 Safin.
He needed every inch of that 6'4" frame to get that ball just inside the line.
double mini break up here. Confirmed by Pascal Maria, so no challenge.
Djokovic challenged the call on the right baseline.
It was a rather timid call, and I think that's led Djokovic in, but of course it's so crucial.
Plus he's got 4 remaining, and he's down 4-1, so obviously he's got to give this a go.
Yep.
Djokovic is going to say he should get the point, because that call was late.
They never do, though, do they?
Well, that's like,
how can you see it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore.
No.
4-1, Safin.
This guy could have blindfolds on it. Just call the score.
A lot of the time, I think you thought they did have blindfolds.
I'll set you up.
5-1.
They're not showing a whole lot of excitement. Herman Gumi has been working, a player from Argentina, working with Murat. He's in the corner, but he's always got that sort of calm, cool look to him. But he's got to be pretty fired up right now. It's a great breaker he's playing. He looks headed to 2-sets-to-love lead here.
Yep. It's all Safin in this breaker.
I'm trying to remember the last time I've seen him this fired up. It's nice to see.
Safin.
5 set points for a double set lead.
Six, 2, Safin. Six, 3, Safin.
He's done it. 2 sets to the good. The number 3 seed is going to have a mountain to climb here.
Safin, 7 games to 6. Safin leads by 2 sets to love. Time.
Still calm. He's managed to stay pretty focused through the change round. Djokovic, we know he can come back. What's he got to do?
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, he's rattled right now. But, you know, he's, as you pointed out, midway through the second set, he found his service motion and started to serve better. So that's good. But the problem is he's got to get it done breaking Djokovic's serve, which he was unable to do in the set. Safin has served well in this match. But what I get the feeling is that Safin senses confusion from Djokovic, and that's given him confidence. We talked briefly about the fact that the one time they played, it was an absolute thrashing. Safin losing only 3 games, 6 love, 2 and 1. And also how this matchup helps Safin, I believe, because they play very similar styles, and he's a bigger man, and this court's finally started to suit him a little bit. Crowds, to me, pulling for Safin.
Yeah.
They know his history and the misery he's had for the most part here at Wimbledon. Djokovic has come back from 2 sets to love down once here at Wimbledon in 2005, but that was Guillermo Garcia Lopez.
15-13.
This is what you don't want to happen if you're Safin, is go to lose your serve early in the third.
I mean, he's been there and done that, but these are heady moments because not much has happened in the last couple of years for him. Off the court, probably. He's lived a vivid lifestyle, this Safin. But work as he's done very hard on the tennis court, he just hasn't been able to get any response.
Since winning the tournament in Australia, Simon, in 2005, he has yet to get past the third round. One round of 16 at the Open. 2006, where he lost to Tommy Haas. That's the only time he's been in the fourth round, the second week of a major.
And Grand Slams are like oxygen for him.
Yeah, Safin.
Still, the sign's not good for Djokovic.
Here's what I see so
First
far.
game,
I see a guy where
set.
he's obviously believes in himself, but the expectations are a lot higher. I think that he thought, knowing Safin's history the last couple of years, that he was playing well enough, that he was just going to come out here and that he was better at everything. But the truth is that he's not yet as comfortable at the net as he perhaps needs to be in this match, because he's not able to win a lot of these ground stroke rallies. And he's not serving as well, and so that's thrown him. So clearly he's got to get the serve right. That's the first step. I would have thought that particularly on the second serve he would have been able to do more with the return and get himself ahead in points, which is obviously a key. Hasn't done a lot of that. He's attempted to sort of change things up, maybe find some angles. That's hard in these windy conditions, so far it hasn't really worked for him. But the most important thing of all, forget all that strategy stuff, is to play with more fire and intensity, which he's rather subdued out there. The ball bouncing. You haven't seen that. Maybe that's thrown him. He's sort of, because he knows people are aware of that. So he's obviously made an effort to curtail that, which is a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But now it's starting to increase a little bit. That would almost help him.
horrible.
It's incredible how much he missed that ball.
15-30.
I like the fact that Safin was content with slicing it and making him come up with the pass when he's clearly not playing with the confidence that we've seen most of this year. Seizing the moment is Safin right now so far today. Tell you, this is 2 break points. This is
15,
critical juncture it could be right now.
That was a trademark Djokovic defensive point there where he stretches out. He didn't do it then.
Well, he got a little unlucky in that as he was about to strike the ball, he slipped.
So 2 break points for Safin.
Wow.
Game, Safin.
That's incredible. That's the second time this has happened in this match. He's thrown away
New
a break,
balls,
thrown in a
please.
double fault.
Safin needs 2 games to love.
We had it all in that game
So-
from Djokovic, didn't we? Forehand miss, backhand miss, double fault. It was his worst game really of the match.
He's out there right now, but he's in a way, part of his mind is somewhere else, and that fire is not there. What you're seeing at the moment, despite how physically gifted Djokovic is a heavyweight against like a cruiserweight.
Yeah, it looks like that.
He's got 2 sets lead, 2 love, and new balls here.
Love 15.
And how is the cruiserweight playing like that at the moment going to get back in? He's got to, throw some body shots, make him work harder, not give away points, wear him down. He's got to just want this more, dig deeper.
More like it, some rhythm there. We want to see a few more before we're convinced.
Love 30.
But he needs some success right now.
Confusion to me is when you see Djokovic hit a one-handed backhand return. I mean, I don't remember seeing that very often. Surprised by that. Safin shot, serve up the line.
Thatcher.
Now he knows you got to do better
40-30.
than that.
Yeah.
It's just Safin had missed 2 first serves, lost the first 2 points, got a couple. That was a second serve. He had thrown in a double the first point of the game, so he's clearly just going to try to get it in. That's a gift there.
Couple of heavyweight shots at the end there.
He certainly got it in him. I mean, we know that. He won the Australian.
Yes.
He got to the semis of the French. I think it's 5 straight slam semis or better. The results are there.
chance goes a begging.
Advantage.
He's gotten 2 out of 7 first serves in this game, yet he's still in a position to win it. It's stunned up there is Marian Vita and the Djokovic family. Matter of fact, the father seems to have left. He's apparently pretty disgusted at so far.
Late. First service.
No, it's away, and Djokovic is in danger of sinking without trace here. It is 3-love, Safin.
Safin needs 3 games to love. Third set and by 2 sets to love.
Well, one of the problems for Djokovic is his serve is below par. Here to tell you why is Jason.
Well, thanks very much, Simon. Yeah, just picking up on what John was suggesting in commentary, that Djokovic hasn't served as well as he would have wanted. These are his first serves, and in terms of accuracy, that's pretty good. He's hitting all 4 corners of the service boxes with alarming regularity, but in terms of depth, it's not quite where he would want it to be, especially when you compare it to Safin's, who's served remarkably well throughout the course of the match. A lot of his first serves have landed a lot deeper, but yesterday, John, during Murray's match, was talking about the quality of the second serve being really important, and in that department today, Djokovic has really struggled. Obviously, it's not as pacey as his first serve. No real accuracy there to speak of at all, and a lot of them are dropping really, really short. And here's a good example of why that's hurt Djokovic. This one bouncing right in the middle of the service box, and even though Safin hasn't been able to hit a winning return, it allows him to gain the upper hand, and he eventually draws the error from Djokovic, because we all know how difficult it is to turn defence into attack on a grass court. If Djokovic doesn't start to serve an awful lot better very quickly, he's going to be in trouble, because the quality of his second serve today has been really poor.
Well, not only does he have to serve better, that goes without saying. He's got to figure out a way to break, or it won't matter how well he serves.
Yep.
All Safin's got to do is hold the next 3 games. It's over.
He broke Safin in the middle of the first set. Since then, he's been some way from doing it.
Every now and then you watch a player like a Djokovic, who is extremely match tough, but has played an incredible amount of tennis the last year and a half or so. At the moment, he looks flat out there.
30-love.
It reminds me a little of last year, the year before he won the Grand Slam, when he played Federer. There was his part of the deal was being hyped up, and he was really a no-show a couple of times.
Which match are you referring to?
Once in the Australian Open, I think it was last year. I'll look it through, but it's in my head there a couple of times.
Because he played a match I remember was Federer at the U.S. Open. He had a lot of separate chances to. As a matter of fact, I believe that the reason he won in Australia is because he was so close in the U.S. that he started to believe he could do it.
Safin needs 3 games to 1, third set.
So 3-1.
He's got to find a different gear and an energy level, and he's got to hope that Safin slows down.
Yeah, last year's Australian Open lost 2, 5 and 3 to Roger Federer, and he was really being talked up at that stage.
That Federer guy's not a bad player.
No.
Amazing how they write a guy off who's got 12 slams, been in 16 Grand Slam semis or better, or in a row. It's well left.
Djokovic needed that.
Perplexing though, his foot speed isn't what I normally see. He's sort of late to a couple shots. He had an opportunity or two with a short ball, like there. I mean, he waited on that ball. Now, I know it's windy, it's a little tricky, but you can ill afford on this surface, I think, to wait. And you've got to be aggressive when you get a short ball.
$30.
not any better.
40 love.
And the clock is running.
Mr. Djokovic challenging the call on the right baseline. The ball was called out.
The bad news is that he's down 40 love anyway. I don't think Safin thought it was in. Bit of a futile attempt here.
Game Safin.
Yes, Safin was almost laughing.
Delaying the inevitable.
Safin leads 4-1, third set, and by 2 sets to love. Mr. Djokovic has 2 challenges remain.
One of the key problems for Djokovic, because Safin served well, and but his percentage is quite a bit lower. 56 for him and 68 for Djokovic. So that's misleading. But what he hasn't done is done much at all, if at all, anything, with Safin's second serve. It's going to kick up high. You have 2 choices. You can move back, wait for it to come to you, which is easier on a clay court or a slower court. You're going to step in and catch it before it bounces too high up above you. And he has attempted to do that, the latter, but he hasn't had any success with it. There's options, though. You know, you don't necessarily have to hit a flat return. You could come over it more. You could hit a firmer slice. You know, his slice is floated, which has allowed Safin to dictate most of the points from the baseline. He's in a comfort zone, Safin. He doesn't feel that threatened, I get the feel. I feel like he thinks he's a bigger hitter, and he has been this match.
So it's only an hour and 3/4 old. Djokovic 1-4, 2 sets down.
Up. 50 love.
Some serious gusts of wind out there. That's why that ball was almost whiffed.
30 love.
It's been a good shot for him through the match. And you know he'd back himself to make it.
Well, that's only the second time that Djokovic has served in volley. He's certainly in a desperate moment here.
(40-15). First service.
Foul!
40-30.
It'd be hard to remember a match where he served more doubles than aces. For a guy who's improved his serve as much as he has, it's been pretty dismal. 4 aces, 7 doubles.
Game, Djokovic.
Well played.
Safin leads 4-2, third set.
How is he going to break the Safin serve?
Out!
15 off.
He's caught an awful lot of serves late. He's having trouble reading Murat's placement, where the ball's going to go. That's been quite effective for him. He's hit just enough serves out wide to reap rewards when he pounds one up the middle.
Just can't get anything going.
Well, you know, it's tough. It is tougher when the wind is moving the ball around to take it earlier, and that's proven to be quite a problem for Djokovic, because that second serve's kicking up on him, and he just has not been able to do much with it.
Another monster serve. 128. That one.
40 love.
That's the first ball he's hitting in this game. You ask how he's going to break serve. It's one obvious way. He's got to get the ball in the court. That was a bit of a frustrated return, effective one. An idea of what he just did, maybe just block a few returns back.
40-30.
You know, Safin's heart rate must be getting quicker and quicker as he gets oh so close to pulling off this upset.
Djokovic sticking in there, saying to Safin, you got to win this.
Yes.
He got some second serves and some looks, but that's exactly what he needed to. These last couple of points, you could sense Safin tightening up a little bit. It seemed like an easy game at 40 love, has now gotten a whole lot trickier. That's why he looked right up to his family's camp. How can I do this? Especially after the success he'd had the last couple points. Just getting away from him.
Safin a game away from getting back into the big time with tennis.
Safin leads 5-2, third set and by 2 sets to love.
John, you mentioned earlier on about the heart rate of Marat Safin. I mean, you've been there right the way through your career, big matches, Grand Slam finals. Did you find as you got older somehow that the heart rate was actually even quicker when you'd expect it to be lower?
Actually, it's a good point. I mean, I'm not saying that's the case with Safin, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't, because as you get older, you become all too aware that these chances may be fleeting. And particularly with the difficulties he's had the last couple of years, I'm sure there's been some questions in his mind as whether this type of match is going to happen again. But I also believe that he's had enough success winning the 2 slams, the Australian and the U.S., been in 2 finals, Davis Cup success, that he believed deep down that he could get back to the level that he showed people why he was hit #1 in 2000.
Time.
And that's exactly what he's done to get himself to this point. He's just going to have to manage those nerves. Everyone's got them. And he would love to get it done now. That probably won't happen, so he wants to make sure he plays a good service game.
love 15.
8th double fault. Serve and volley. Well, not a volley, but what a half volley.
It's a phenomenal shot. I mean, Safin cracked that return.
15.
He probably could make the argument, why isn't he doing this more often if he can pull shots like that off?
Oh.
15-30.
Wow.
No answer there.
Remember that?
That was prime Safin. Two match points
15
for Marat
14.
Safin.
(30-40).
It must have seemed like an age before that ball bounced and came up, but he got it done.
Yes.
Well, it'd be hugely disappointing for Djokovic if he weren't at least make Safin serve this out. See what happens.
Bread and butter shot.
Safin.
Match point number 3. Oh, super second serve.
He went for an ace. 115. It was all or nothing there. That's what.
Yes.
I can't believe that he went for that big a serve. It worked that time.
Advantage Safin.
Can't trust himself. 4th match point. Djokovic is out, but Marat Safin, welcome back to the big time of tennis. Just fabulous to see Safin where he belongs. Centre stage, strutting his stuff. And he won't worry that Djokovic was way below par. It's a huge win for him.
Well, Simon, he's got the standing ovation. There's a lot of happy people out there. He, the happiest of all, very